jungle.
Mr. Malcolm Redger climbed slowly down the roof staircase in the top dome of a building peeking out from above the clouds. This particular planet was alien to him. He had never been on Pictos before. He had books under his strong arms, with pictures of his species. He was about to give a presentation to a group of elementary school Pictons on a field trip. It wasn't really a field trip per se, as the entire thing was in a Picton roost, far up in the air. The Pictons were an avian species, with huge beaks the size of a grapefruit and a wingspan of 25 feet. They could speak human, but for the presentation, Redger would be using the Picton language of Intrish, a squeaking dialect. The event was going to be broadcast across the entire Picta system of 17 planets. The media coverage was due to the fact that humans were close to extinction. They numbered very few and were down to their last continent. The press wanted to get a glimpse of this ancient race on its deathbed. Humans were so rare that every person wanted to meet one. Redger got jostled on every bus that he took. People wanted his autograph, wanted photos, wanted them to bless their children, and even to make love to them in varying degrees of privacy. He got no escape. Except from children, of course. The Picton kids he would be speaking to were only 20 Picton years old and knew nothing of the history of humanity. Thank God, Redger thought. Though they were molting and got feathers all over his suit, at least it didn't treat him as a zoo exhibit. He wasn't some strange variety of tiger that could only be bred in captivity. He wanted to be free of his celebrity status. Sucks to be human, thought Redger. Presently, Redger looked up at a 6-foot-tall bird facing him. Two tiny yet intense blue eyes focused on him. The beak looked as if it could gnash him in two. Redger was almost terrified, yet he was curious at the same time. The thing couldn't smile, but Redger could tell it knew him. There was also something about how it ruffled its feathers that made him know that it was a girl. The librarian at a desk perch flapped over to greet him. "Welcome to Hawk Library," the she-bird squeaked in Intrish. "If you could sit on this platform here, the children will be flying over shortly." She motioned to a raised dais in the center of platform in the cylindrical auditorium. "Thank you," Redger squeaked back. Redger saw a series of rings encircling the center dais, and more above in a cone reaching to the top of the dome. Must be the perches, Redger thought. On the tall walls, there were pictures of various Picton presidents and scientists. Hovering balloons floated above his head as he walked from the rough staircase on the outer edge of the room to a wooden scaffolding leading to the dais in the center. Redger sat down on a stool in the middle of the room. There were 8 archways leading out to the rest of the library on the edge of the room. Redger saw through the archways that there were tubes with scrolls of paper inside hanging from strings in the cavernous base. Pictons flew between them, hovering with loud flaps of their wings and picking up the tubes with their beaks. The Picton children started shuffling their way into the room. They flapped noisily around the interior, perching with their friends and trying to get away from the chaperones, who perched on bars on the tops of the archways. The librarian raised her voice. "Settle down, kids. We have a very special guest here for you today. A human named Mal Redger is going to speak about his race and the long history of his people. I know you are learning a lot about the history of the Jothran Empire, and humans played a large part in that. Isn't that right?" "Why yes, it is." Redger shifted uncomfortably in his stool. That wasn't humanity's proudest moment in time. The Jothran Empire was a relatively harsh empire, much more brutal than any on Earth. While humans had an uneasy alliance with them for a few centuries, in recent years they had broken ties with them because of multiple intrusions into the space of nations allied to mankind. "Well, why don't you all sit down and enjoy what Mr. Redger has to say?" Redger nodded his head and, with a long breath, began. "We call ourselves the humans. We were once a mighty civilization of 200 billion, across 7 worlds and countless moons. We were spread across 10 star systems. Our ships could carry thousands of souls, bound from many different places in the galaxy. We made alliances with hundreds of species across 500 light years. The Jothran and the Begans were our closest allies. Together with our neighbor species, we crushed many attackers who invaded our space. We quashed the Krell intrusion using Jothrani weapons technology. Along with the big GANs, we made many scientific advances in space propulsion and sensing technology. We touched the culture of various small civilizations and gave them much in areas of knowledge. Books were left behind on worlds. They contained instructions in basic pictorial language on how to start fires, build tents, and hunt wild animals. We gave the Omniscients the knowledge required to build their first simple computer. The secret of radio transmissions was given to many current computer civilizations, such as the Zubans and the Nows. We even gave music to an aquatic race, who lived on a frozen oceanic world near the star system we call Sirius. The beauty of the exploits of the human mind was one thing that we were never afraid to share. Yet although we achieved many great things across the galaxy, our contacts with species often came with terrible costs. Infectious diseases were spread to many worlds, killing off many species. There were mass extinctions that we witnessed with sad eyes. Any contact between two biospheres had always been disastrous, and any further contact would have worsened the problem. We could only observe as our own bacteria ate away at species, with no natural resistance to the disease. We could do nothing to help. We caused, directly and indirectly, hundreds of wars. Many of the galaxy's now extinct species were related to humans in the distant past. The Homo snacker, a mammalian species much taller than man, were all but wiped out as a result of two of our warships doing battle with an Azarian freighter over their home moon and accidentally hitting their encampment on a tall ridge. The children shuddered with excitement. We do not know how many promising flames of civilization were snuffed out by our exploits. Perhaps thousands. Yet now, we have snuffed ourselves out. We have spread out so thin that Homo sapiens is almost a dead race. We now number a mere 53,000, the size of a medium city. We exist solely on the moon of Yezin, which encircles the gas giant we call Old Mother Urim. We have lived for 4 million years, and yet we only have a few generations left. Now, nobody shall call the humans for help. Nobody shall log on to our internet forums that have spread across the sky. Nobody shall give any mention to the greats of time immemorial. Our homeworld of Earth will be a fading ember in the fire of the galaxy. We shall be only a faint whisper in the constellations. Yet our memory shall live on, once we are long dead. People will spin strange tales about how humans rescued them from the clutches of beasts on airless moons. Dragons will be created, and people will tell of Beowulfs and Skywalkers. Legends of humans that rescued damsels and fought evil space wizards. Stories of mankind and its legacy, though the species will be long dead, will be told throughout the cosmos by our descendants and offshoot races. Stories of heroes made up by various authors, or of their real lives. Stories of those who came from the lonely soul system. Stories of Earth. Thank you, Mr. Redger, for telling such a brilliant story. I'm sure the children will love to read more about your fascinating story and all about your civilization. The Picton librarian wiped her glasses with her feathery arms and turned to the adults. It's almost time to end this seminar. Make sure your kids' backpacks are picked up and there are no more papers on the floor. The children started yawning. The clock struck 39 hours. Redger was tired. The librarian turned to Redger. You must be sad to see such a great story end. Redger smiled. All stories must. Yours was a fascinating one, though. I always love hearing tales of ancient history. It isn't so ancient. Compared to some species, humans haven't lived that long. Redger suddenly looked very old. He picked up his leather jacket and tall hat and turned to go. The librarian thought that there was something in his walk, or perhaps in his voice. But there was something that made the 40-year-old man look in his 60s or 70s. Will I ever see a human again? Asked the librarian with a pointless yet hopeful voice. Perhaps, if you ever pass near Polaris. It's unlikely that you will ever find our homeworld. We haven't been able to for 300 centuries, since our star chart storage facility was wiped out by the Drothner. The children shuffled around the rings, flapping through the archways. Redger looked up into the stars, deep into a blank area of the sky. He was squinting at something that the librarian couldn't see. The librarian held his hand with her claw-like fingers. Maybe I won't, but there is no doubt in my mind, the librarian said with a beautiful confidence, that I will feel the planet Earth whenever I look into the night sky. Redger felt his heart glow. Are you sure? Redger looked back at the librarian. I feel it right now. Standing in this room, with me. She had just spoken in human. Roger laughed. He started out giggling. Then he leapt into a guffaw. He smiled wider than he ever had in his life. He tilted his head back and let out the most amazing laugh. "I don't think you are a fading ember," said the librarian with a grin. "You are the most beautiful human that has ever lived. Thank you. I love to help your species. I hope you will tell this story many more times." "I will. Promise me that." Malcolm locked eyes with the librarian. "I promise." He turned and jogged out, with a spring in his step. The old man had been born again. This content is Creative Commons. Relevant attribution can be found in the description. Thanks for watching.